Although there's no specific diet type for MS, nutrition plays a very important role in the management of MS. In this video series, we'll cover a variety of topics as pertains to diet and nutrition in MS. We'll cover a variety of food groups and food nutrients and how that can influence the management of MS. We'll also talk about vitamin D and how that relates to the incidence of MS and to the management of multiple sclerosis. We'll cover a variety of different diet types, and finally, we have a few fun and healthy recipes for you and your family.
For instance, we know that people with MS have less of what is generally considered anti-inflammatory nutrients in their diet. So things like vitamin B12 or folate or vitamin E, they have all been observed to be more commonly deficient in MS patients than in the general population. We also know that diet can affect the fat tissues in our body. So the fat tissue is not just a storage of fat and energy that we use, but it also has other functions in the body. One of these being the production of more inflammatory substances. We know that through a healthy diet, we can decrease the amount of fat that we have in the body that produce these inflammatory components, and we can increase what is generally considered good fat that would be anti-inflammatory fat, so to speak.
A healthy diet is a diet that incorporates a variety of foods, including fruits, vegetables, whole grains, as well as lean sources of protein and healthy fats. In 2015, the Dietary Guidelines for Americans chose to emphasize healthy eating patterns as a way to help reduce risk for chronic disease. Healthy eating patterns can represent the totality of foods and beverages consumed throughout the day and are adaptable to individual food preferences and needs.
We typically do recommend what is called a Mediterranean diet for patients with MS. By Mediterranean diet, we mean diets that are poor in saturated fats, or processed foods mostly, but very rich in monosaturated fats, so fats that come from fish and olive oil. Also very rich in vegetables and fruits and nuts and what's typically considered antioxidant nutrients. A lot of the rationale behind the recommendation comes from what we have seen in other diseases other than MS. So we know that in patients with Alzheimer's and with memory problems, the Mediterranean diet, adherence to the Mediterranean diet, may reduce the rate of brain atrophy or brain shrinkage. We also know that patients with Alzheimer's that maintain a Mediterranean diet typically have better cognitive outcomes, so better memory tests and scores when they follow this diet. And in the case of MS in particular, it has been observed that a good adherence to this diet may be protective. So not necessarily for patients who already have MS, but even for the general population as a whole, good adherence to the Mediterranean diet may reduce the risk of ever developing MS.
The Mediterranean Diet Pyramid is a visual representation that can help you identify the main components of the Mediterranean diet. At the base of the pyramid, it focuses on physical activity, which means moving more. This can be incorporated in a variety of different ways, such as walking, running, even dancing. Whichever form of physical activity you prefer is the best form of physical activity for you to do. The biggest section of the pyramid incorporates fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts and legumes, olive oil, herbs, and spices. The next section incorporates lean sources of protein, mostly being from fish and seafood, and some poultry and low-fat dairy. At the top of the pyramid, that's where you'll find red meats and sweets being rarely consumed throughout the week. In addition, the Mediterranean diet encourages moderate consumption of red wine if you do drink wine, and drinking enough water throughout the day.
One of the things that I do when I educate patients about supplements is to make them aware that not all supplements are safe, especially if you have no way of finding out the source, how it's manufactured, and no way of finding out how it interacts with your current drugs. If they want to use it, I invite them to have a good conversation with their doctors. They should not feel embarrassed or afraid to disclose that information with their doctors. And doctors, on the other hand, should also be open and not dismissive. Because at the end of the day, with a chronic disease like MS, it is important to have a good patient-physician relationship. So that's the first thing about discussion on supplements, safety. And then the second thing is efficacy. So what is out there that's effective? And fortunately, we have some data in the area of MS. And we can say that there are some supplements that there is a very strong evidence base to support its use. And that would be vitamin D. We want to really have optimal vitamin D levels for patients with MS. And there are many articles and even review articles stating that people who have optimal vitamin D levels have less disability.
The relationship between vitamin D and multiple sclerosis is a complex one and one we're still learning about. We know that vitamin D deficiency is very common among MS patients, and we also know that vitamin D deficiency works as a risk factor for the development of MS, probably through an interplay with both genetic risk factors and from external risk factors, so maybe infections or exposure to things we're not really entirely sure about. But we do know that vitamin D increases the risk of developing MS. We have also learned from animal models that mice that have vitamin D deficiency tend to have more severe diseases than those who do not, especially in the models that mimic multiple sclerosis. We also have observed that vitamin D is able to increase the gut bacteria that produces anti-inflammatory substances. So there's a lot that's being studied now about what is called the gut microbiome, which are millions and millions of bacteria that live in the gut and that produce a lot of different substances that affect our general health. And we can tweak the populations of these bacteria by what we eat and by how we supplement our diet. And we know that through vitamin D supplementation, we're able to increase anti-inflammatory bacteria, which likely carries a positive effect in patients with multiple sclerosis.
Now I'm going to show you 2 simple recipes where you can easily incorporate a Mediterranean diet at home. The first recipe is a mixed salad with chicken and pistachios. For this recipe, you'll need 3 cups of raw kale with center ribs removed and coarsely chopped, 4 tablespoons of olive oil, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, half a teaspoon of black pepper, 2 cups of arugula, 1/4 cup of shelled pistachios, 3 tablespoons of grated Parmesan cheese, and 6 ounces of grilled or baked chicken cut into strips. In a large salad bowl, combine the kale, oil, lemon juice, and black pepper. With your hands, gently massage the leaves for about 15 seconds until all leaves are thoroughly coated. Set aside for 10 minutes. When ready to serve, mix in arugula, pistachios, and Parmesan cheese. Leave out the Parmesan for a dairy-free alternative. Divide the salad and chicken strips among 2 serving bowls and serve. The second recipe is a cannellini bean and hummus lettuce wrap. For this recipe, you'll need 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil, half a cup of diced red onion, 3/4 cup of chopped fresh tomatoes, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 1 15-ounce can of cannellini beans, drained and rinsed, 1/4 cup of fresh parsley, half a cup of hummus, and 8 romaine lettuce leaves. In a large skillet over medium heat, heat the oil. Add the onion and cook for 3 minutes, stirring occasionally. Then, add the tomatoes and pepper and cook for another 3 minutes. Finally, add the beans and cook for an additional 3 minutes. When ready, remove from heat and mix in parsley. Spread 1 tablespoon of hummus over each lettuce leaf. Lastly, evenly spread the warm bean mixture down the center of each leaf and enjoy.